Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely pleased to be with you all for this inaugural function of 1 week FDP on the title CFD for Beginners, Computational Fluid Dynamics for Beginners. And as Professor Sevadkar has initially said, this particular program is essentially for those who do not have any idea about the tool, wonderful tool CFD that is available for the designers. I am with the Government College of Engineering and Research, Avsari, for last 4 years now. Just to give a brief introduction of our institution, this institution is basically an institution of Government of Maharashtra, and this institution is in Pune district. Its geographical location is about 60 kilometers to the north of Pune as you move on the Pune-Nashik highway. This institution started in the year 2010 with 4 branches of engineering, and subsequently 2 more branches of engineering at undergraduate level were added. So today we have 6 branches of engineering. These include conventional branches including civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and other important courses, undergraduate courses including electronics and telecommunication engineering, computer engineering, instrumentation and control engineering. And since this area is one of the automobile hubs in the western part of our country, we also have an undergraduate program in automobile engineering, which is a specialty of this program, of this area rather. This FDP is supported by All India Council for Technical Education, and if you just look at the concept of Atal FDP, you are all well aware that this is basically FDPs are conducted in the thrust areas, and a very new document which has been a milestone of 21st century, I would say, as far as education sector is concerned, is the National Education Policy. The National Education Policy has clearly highlighted the need for our students to have knowledge in thrust areas including artificial intelligence, robotics, mechatronics, blockchain, cyber security, so on and so forth. Now, this particular topic of computational fluid dynamics has application in all the branches of engineering, as you all know. And that's why faculty members from any branch of engineering can take part in this particular course, because its application, whether he is an aerospace engineer or whether he is a mechanical engineer or whether he is a civil engineer or electronics engineer for that matter, its application is wide, and this has been found to be a very powerful tool available to engineers for simulating any situation where we are talking of the fluids and their motion towards any particular engineering object is concerned. I am glad that we have very good experts from various institutions led by Dr. Atul Sharma, who is one of the renowned persons working in the area of CFD. We also have faculty from College of Engineering, Pune, who would be available as experts for all the participants, including our own faculty member, Professor Sevadkar and Professor Shirsagar. So all in all, I really feel that the next 1 week of inputs that you get from all the experts would definitely be very beneficial to each one of you, and you will have a new powerful tool through which you can definitely take up more and more engineering problems based for their solution based on the inputs that you get from this course. Since I would not like to take more of your time, I wish the participants and the coordinators a very wonderful time. Hope more and more deliberations take place during this entire 1 week period. I would urge all the participants to feel free, even beyond the contact hours of this faculty development program, to get their doubts or problems sorted through the faculty coordinators. Thanking you once again, Professor Sevadkar, welcoming Professor Atul Sharma amongst us, and Professor Sridhar Joshi. I now conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for encouraging the participants, and thank you very much for word of appreciation. I now request Professor Sridhar Joshi to please say few words. Maybe he will tell some few things about the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Professor Joshi is heading our department, and he is our mentor and guide in many of the aspects, and he has encouraged us to go ahead with the FDP also. I'm thankful to Professor Joshi for the proper guidance and mentorship which he has provided over the period of time. I request Professor Joshi to please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sevatkar. Respected Professor Atul Sharma ji, the expert faculty member, Dr. Sevat, our principal, Dr. Pant, Dr. Sevatkar, and Dr. Kshirsagar, the coordinators for this particular program, and all participants. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Mechanical Engineering Department of Government College of Engineering and Research, Ausari. As our principal mentioned just now, the institute started in the year 2009, and mechanical started in the first year itself. Initially, we started with mechanical, automobile, computer, and electronics branch, and then later on we added civil and the automobile branch also. We are very fortunate to have a dedicated team of around 11 faculty members in our department, 1 professor, 6 associate professors, and 4 lecturers, and almost 7 out of them are PhD holders. We are also bestowed with technical laboratory assistants having say graduate qualifications, engineering graduate qualifications. The department has well-equipped laboratories for adequate for undergraduate courses, and we are purchasing more equipment in the near future. And I am very glad that Dr. Sevatkar and Dr. Kshirsagar have taken a lead in arranging a faculty development program under the auspices of Atal Academy of AICTE. And this particular subject is of tremendous importance in mechanical engineering. And I'm glad to hear from Dr. Sevatkar that there are many participants who have participated from different parts of the country. Some 2-3 participants have also participated from our own college. And so, in fact, we would have been really very happy to welcome everybody personally in the department, because it is a very beautiful campus. If you have visited the website of Government Engineering College anytime, you will surely see that it is a very beautiful campus surrounded by lush green areas. So we would have been extremely happy to welcome you personally in the department. But unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, we are all forced to take up online activities. But as academicians, we should always be ready to take up challenges and ready to undergo changes. So let us again say gear for an online faculty development program. I extend a warm welcome to all of you, and I would like to extend a best wishes to every participant for a wonderful learning experience of about 1 week. So I would not take much time because our expert faculty member, Dr. Sharma, is already there on the line. So I would not like to take much of your time. I again extend wishes to all the participants. Thank you everybody. Over to Dr. Sevatkar now.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your encouraging word. So with the consent of our principal, I say that the program is inaugurated. Okay. So now what I will do, I will introduce Professor Atul Sharma to all of you, and then we can actually start with the content of the course. Professor Atul Sharma is going to deliver his first session on the overview of computational fluid dynamics. So let me take this opportunity to introduce you, Professor Atul Sharma. Dr. Atul Sharma is a professor in Mechanical Engineering Department of IIT Bombay with a teaching and research experience of more than 20 years. Professor Sharma's contributions are on the development of a range of novel and efficient computational tools its applications to a large number of time-consuming simulations, and analysis of resulting big data for a wide variety of problems in computational fluid dynamics. Most of his advanced CFD research contributions led to evolution of a subject on computational multi-phase dynamics, comprising computational multi-fluid dynamics and computational fluid structure interactions. He demonstrated numerous innovative applications of the tools and provided better understanding of various types of fishes, like swimming at a constant speed and variable speed, and also for self cleaning surfaces. He also demonstrated simulations for challenging industrial problems on a circuit breaker, power transformer, and printed circuit heat exchangers. His contributions on students' guidance is enormous. Supervisor of 28 PhD students, 15 graduated, 35 MTech students, and three postdoctoral fellows, with 2 Best PhD Thesis Awards and a Shell Computational Talent Prize for 2 of his PhD students. His wide variety of research is published in 72 articles in 28 different well-recognized international journals, 75 conference proceedings, and 13 chapters in 4 edited books, and appeared in a cover page of the Journal of Fluid Mechanics, Physics of Fluids, and Langmuir. He contributed as a CFD consultant for Global R&D, Crompton Greaves Limited, Mumbai, for 5 years, and served as a secretary and financial secretary for National Society of Fluid Mechanics and Fluid Power India for 7 years. FMFP is one of the important society which all of you must be aware about. Professor Sharma has proved leadership in the capacity of building in CFD by providing training program in around 5 industries, 50 engineering institutes, and for around 1,400 college teachers as a part of National Mission on Education through ICT. And finally, publishing a textbook and website, cfdmadeasy.org. His contribution in a well-received book is the proposition of physical, insightful, and comprehensive approach to CFD, with a vision to make CFD easy enough to be taught at early undergraduate to enable Make CFD software in India. I mean, he was a part of a Make in India drive led by Government of India, wherein he has dreamed of developing the CFD software in the country itself. He received IIT Bombay Departmental Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2009. So we have real authority in computational fluid dynamics and the leadership in computational fluid dynamics with us. I formally welcome Professor Atul Sharma for the 5 days FDP on computational fluid dynamics for beginners. I am sure the next 2 sessions which Professor Sharma is going to handle will definitely be useful for all of you to develop an insight into computational fluid dynamics. So welcome, Professor Atul Sharma. Now we will be starting with the session by Professor Atul Sharma. Now, before we go ahead with the actual session, let me give few instructions to participants. I request all the participants to please keep your microphones on mute mode and even videos on mute mode, so that we all of us are able to hear the interactions clearly. If you have any kind of questions, please put your questions in the chat box. I will be passing on your questions to Professor Atul Sharma, and those questions will be answered. I also request the participants to please do not go to the presentation mode. I mean, sometimes what you do, you yourself go to the presentation mode and try to present something. I mean, maybe you do that by mistake. But that should not happen. Just now, one of the participants has done that. Mr. Hemant has done that. So please try to avoid to go to the presentation mode yourself. That will disturb the meet. I wish all the best to all the participants. I hope you will definitely enjoy the learning as a part of this FDP. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much, Professor Panta, for joining us for this inaugural of the inauguration of the FDP. Thank you very much, Professor Sridhar Joshi, who has addressed us. I'm also thankful to Professor Shirsagar, who has taken efforts for arranging few of the things and coordinating, helping me in the coordination of the FDP. Professor Shirsagar is also with us presently. So I request now Professor Atul Sharma to please start with his session on overview of CFD.
वही नंबर है मेरा, जो नंबर है ना 9926।
Thanks, Professor Sivatkar, for the kind introduction. Welcome Professor Joshi and the coordinator, Professor Sivatkar, and Professor Shirsagar, and thank them for giving me an opportunity to present whatever I have learned in my about last 20-25 years of journey in CFD. I would also like to thank all of you for your attention, your interest in participating in this course at this difficult times. And so with this background, let me start with today's lecture. Before I start, I would like to first give you a flavor that when you learn this subject, ultimately there is an objective that you will develop certain skills. However, only by listening the lecture, you cannot develop certain skills. You have to, whatever you hear, you have to, we call it Shravan, Chintan, Manan, Dhyan, and Nidhyasan. So there are various stages which you have to cross through yourself to have a real experience learning. And then I wish and hope that you develop certain computational skills which can enable you to develop CFD software for the world. CFD is a subject where a lot of Indians have contributed. One of the most prominent is from the College of Engineering Pune, Professor Patankar, who has done BTech from Government of College of Engineering Pune, and he is one of the father figure in this subject. I have dedicated my book to Professor Patankar with his consent, and so with this background, we are really proud that Professor Patankar, who is originally from Pune, his book is worldwide most famous. He has written a book around 40 years ago, and that book is popular all over the world, and it is taught in most of the universities in the world. So with this background, let me share my screen and get started with today's presentation. Sivatkar, you are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Feel free to interrupt me anytime if you find any audio video quality distortion from my end. Is it fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I welcome all of you to the Faculty Development Program on Computational Fluid Dynamics for Beginner. This FDP is sponsored by AICT, and it is organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, Government College of Engineering and Research, Absari. So this is a lecture where I give you an overview of CFD, where basically I will give you an introduction of CFD. When I say CFD, I say there are three aspects of CFD. When you learn this subject, you learn to develop a product, which is a CFD software. So this overview that I'll be giving you will involve CFD development, where the objective is to make you understand and appreciate that if you learn this subject, you can develop a product, which is a CFD software. The second aspect is when you develop a product, you learn how to apply that product. So the second aspect is this one, where you CFD application. And when you use a product, you get certain output, such as for this product, when you use this CFD software as a product, you generate a lot of data. Big data is not only generated from internet, but big data is also generated from physics-based simulation software. So once you get big data, then you have to do a job of data analytics. So the third aspect of CFD is the CFD analysis. Okay, so I'm giving you overview of CFD development first, starting with, then CFD application, and finally CFD analysis. In this overview of CFD, I'll start with, basically I'll make you understand and appreciate the answer to 3 different questions. What is CFD, how it works, and why to study CFD. So I'll start with the first question, what is CFD? And when I'll be discussing how CFD works, I will take you along the introduction to CFD development, application, and analysis. I request all of you to mute your mic. Thank you. So let us start with the definition of CFD, and I will draw an analogy finally with a video camera as compared to CFD software. So this is a subject, computational fluid dynamics, which we call as CFD. It's a very wide subject, so the definition will be a little longer. So this is the first part of the subject, the first part of the definition. CFD is a computational method of scientific and engineering investigation of a fluid dynamics problem. So note that there are 3 methods of investigation: analytical method, computational method, and experimental method. So out of these 3 methods, this subject comes under the computational method. Now, when we use this method, we want to investigate the problems in fluid mechanics as a scientist as well as an engineer. So we want to do a comprehensive investigation. That's why this has been defined as a method of scientific and engineering investigation of a fluid dynamics problem. Now, the second part of the definition is, it is concerned with the development and application of a video camera-like tool, which is a CFD software. Okay, so when you learn this subject, it's a computational method concerned with the development and application of video camera-like tool, which is a CFD software, which is used for a unified cause and effect based comprehensive analysis of a problem. Okay, so when you use this software, basically you generate a lot of data for velocities, pressures, temperature, engineering parameters like drag force, lift force. And finally, you want to make a story, because the movies that you generate from this software will be a silent. Now, you have to give voice to this by doing an analysis which will try to reason the cause as well as effect. Now, to give you an idea of what is cause and what is effect, let's suppose if you're simulating flow across a car, then the engineering effect that you observe for flow across a car is the drag force, basically, which somewhat decides the petrol consumption of the car, because when car tries to move ahead, it comes across the resistance of the surrounding air. So there is a force which it has to overcome, which is the drag force. So the drag force which opposes the direction of the motion of the car is an engineering effect. Now, when you compare the various designs, shape of the car, in certain shape of the car, the drag force is less. In certain shape of the car, the drag force is more. Now, if you try to understand as a scientist that what is the reason between the correlation of the drag force with the shape of the car, then basically you are interested in the cause. Note that as a human being, we are a unique creature where we always try to understand the cause of the phenomena. Like if a lion doesn't have a food, he has a problem. and if he gets the food, his problem is solved. But as a human being, if we don't have food, we have one problem. But once we have food, then we have 1,000 more problems, because we are not satisfied. We are always curious enough to understand the reason, the cause of the phenomena in an engineering situation as well as under the natural conditions. Okay, so this is a subject which involves computational method, and it is concerned with the development and application of video camera like tool, which is used for a cause and effects based comprehensive analysis. So we want to develop through this analysis. We want to do an analysis which is comprehensive enough, which involves the science, which leads to us to cause, and which involves the engineering aspect, which leads us to the effect of engineering phenomena. Okay, so now as far as the flow across a car is concerned, the drag force is basically related with the fluid dynamics phenomena. On the backside of the surface of the car, a fluid dynamics phenomena occurs, which we call as flow separation. And flow separation, wherever the flow is separated, you have a low pressure region. So on the back surface of the car, when you have low pressure region, front surface high pressure, then there is a hydrodynamic force or aerodynamic force which acts from the front surface towards the rear surface. Okay, so which tries to resist the motion of the car. So that's the cause of the drag force in case of the problem that I discussed. That was the one of the definition, but when you try to define, you can define it from various perspectives. So I have given a second definition in my book, where I have tried to give the CFD as a system level definition, where I have tried to talk about computational modeling, simulation, and analysis. So CFD, the second definition which I had presented in my book is CFD is a subject concerned with the development of computer programs. Okay, so here in this subject, you develop certain computer programs and you apply it for computational modeling, simulation, analysis. Now let me discuss this word, what is modeling, what is simulation, and what is analysis. In a computational modeling, let us suppose if you want to simulate flow across a car. Note that in this subject, we work in a virtual world. That's why I'm calling that CFD software is not a physical video camera, it's a virtual video camera. Okay, so if you want to model flow across a car, in this what we do is that first we obtain the geometrical information about the shape, size, all the dimensions of the car, and using those dimensions in a computer, we do solid modeling. So when we develop a solid model, so we don't have a physical car, but in our computer, all of you have done a course on engineering drawing in your engineering curriculum. So you can understand and appreciate that if you are given a geometric information, through the geometric information, using a computer, you can develop a solid model. So that solid modeling, you can call it as a computational modeling for the geometry. But other than this, you have to model the problem numerically and develop a computer program. So this computer program development is basically the numerical modeling other than the geometrical modeling. So the geometrical modeling and the numerical modeling together constitutes the computational modeling. And once you have developed your computer programs or software, then you use it for simulating. So actually, if you do simulations for flow across a car, there is no physical car and it's actually not moving, but in a physical way. But in our computer, you can not only develop a solid model, but you can simulate a situation where you can give boundary conditions corresponding to the situation where the car is moving at certain velocity, and we are interested to define the drag force, flow separation, and we want to study this problem. Okay, so that way, using the software, which involves solid modeling as well as numerical modeling, in the second step, you do simulations. And once you do simulations, you generate, I will show you two types of movies: scientifically exciting fluid dynamic movie and engineering level fluid dynamic movies. And those movies are silent movies. And when you play these movies, you try to understand from your basic understanding of fluid mechanics and heat transfer, and try to develop a story which involves cause as effect, which involves science as well as engineering aspects to do an analysis of the fluid dynamics problem in nature. Note that we have various problems in fluid dynamics problem in nature. Like recently in towards the end of May and the beginning of June, in our country, we had 2 cyclones. One in the Bay of Bengal, which was called as Amphan, and another in the Arabian Sea, which affected us in Pune and Mumbai, Nisarga. So these are like cyclones are certain natural fluid dynamics phenomena. So when we use CFD, note that we use CFD for weather modeling also. So there are a lot of problems in nature which we want to understand. We get inspired by various natural phenomena like birds flight, fishes swimming, and cyclones which affects us. Because note that the cyclone is basically generated by a low pressure region in somewhere in the middle of the sea. But when the low pressure is created, and the wind rushes to the low pressure region and basically drives. So when there is a low pressure, you know from fluid statics that the level of the sea increases to balance the pressure. So there is a high tide which generated, and the cyclone basically carries this high tide from the middle of the ocean to the seashore, and it leads to the destruction. There is a heavy wind and there is a high tide, and there rain also, heavy rains also. So this is the natural fluid dynamics phenomena. Whereas there are a lot of engineering systems where you do encounter fluid dynamics phenomena. Note that this subject's name is computational fluid dynamics, but this this CFD is not only limited to fluid dynamics. It also involves heat transfer, mass transfer, multi-phase flow, combustion, and so on and so forth. Okay, so CFD involves much bigger. So it's mostly I would like to say it's more of a computational transport phenomena, where we study fluid dynamics, heat transfer, multi-phase flow, turbulent flows, and so on, combustion also. Okay, so CFD involves, you can say, the application of the core courses that you have studied in your undergraduate curriculum: thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and heat transfer. This is the second definition that I had given. So in the first definition, I had tried to correlate with a video camera, and in the second definition, I had tried to define as a system level definition, where I've tried to introduce computational modeling, simulation, and analysis. Sevatkar, everything is fine?
Yes, sir. Perfectly all right. Video, audio, everything in presentation is perfectly all right.
Thanks. Okay. So now, after the last 2 slides on definition, let us say in this slide, I will talk about the 3 aspects of CFD, which I mentioned. That in CFD, there are 3 aspects: CFD development, CFD application, and CFD analysis. So in the first thing, you basically do solid modeling and numerical modeling. And in the numerical modeling, you do grid generation and you learn how to obtain the solutions. So and basically with the CFD development, you develop a CFD software, which I have said, it's like a virtual video camera, because the output that you can get from CFD software is a movie, which, and all of you know that you generate movies through cameras. So that's why I have tried to draw an analogy with a video camera. Now, once you develop this virtual video camera, note that the movies that you generate here, they are different from the movie that you generate from your mobile phones. Now, just to give you an idea, in your mobile phone, the movie that you create is basically a pictorial information, but the movie that we will create through this CFD software are basically 2 types of movies, which I call. I have classified these movies into 2 types in my book: scientifically exciting movie and engineering relevant movie. Now, whenever you talk of movies, there are 2 things. One is the actor or actress and a character. So the actor for scientifically exciting movies are the flow properties like velocities, pressures, and temperature. So if you make a fluid dynamics movie where you are making, let us suppose, velocity contour, pressure contour, temperature contour, then those movies I am calling it as a scientifically exciting. If you make movies corresponding to engineering information or engineering parameters like lift force, drag force, rate of heat transfer, how they are varying with respect to time, then those type of class of movies I am calling it as an engineering relevant movies. Okay, so the flow properties are actors in the scientifically exciting movie, and engineering parameters are the actors in engineering relevant movie. Other than the actors in the movie, we are also interested in the character in a movie. Now, what is the character in the scientifically exciting movie? The character in the scientifically exciting movies are certain fluid dynamics phenomena, like boundary layer, flow separation, vortex formation, and vortex shedding. Okay, so this decides the characteristics of the fluid. Okay, so this fluid dynamics phenomena represents the character of scientifically exciting movie where the actor is flow property. Now, what is the character of engineering relevant movie? Based on the movie that you plot for the engineering parameters like lift force, drag force, and the rate of heat transfer, you try to characterize the nature of the variation of engineering parameters with respect to time that presents the characteristics of the engineering relevant movie. Towards later on, I will show you these two movies for two different example problems, one on heat transfer and another on fluid dynamics, where I'll play both these movies together in synchronized in time. Okay, so once you generate these two types of movies, basically you generate the movie in this part, CFD application. Okay, in the CFD development, you develop a product, CFD software. In the CFD application, you apply to a problem which can be a problem from nature or corresponding to an industrial application. And when you apply it, you get a lot of data. Now, you may generate, you have to apply the CFD problem in complete domain. But most of the time, we want to zoom to certain region to understand where most of the action is occurring. Like if you consider flow across a car, if you do a CFD simulation, then you may have to take a computational domain which is large, very large. But when we make these movies, and if you want to make a good story, we want to zoom to certain region in space. So we do not normally draw the movies for complete domain. We try to zoom to region where most of the fluid dynamic action is occurring. Now, where the fluid dynamic action is occurring, if I ask you, or if you consider flow over a flat plate, where the most of the action is occurring? When we say most of the action, what we mean is where the velocity gradients are large. So all of you from your fluid dynamics course, you know, when you consider flow over a flat plate, most of the velocity gradient is near to the solid surface, that is a plate. Okay, so even if let us suppose you make a fluid dynamic movie for the flow distribution for flow over a flat plate, to do simulation correctly, you may have to take a large computational domain, but you zoom to small region which is near to the surface of the car, because you in a movie you want to show a lot of spatial and temporal variation. So these movies that you generate, normally you get the data for the complete domain in CFD application. But note that to make a good scientific and engineering story, we zoom to certain region in space. The CFD applications can lead you to make these movies. Note that the CFD software do not automatically lead you to these movies. You have to do, as a user, you have to use the software cleverly so that you can develop movies which are impressive enough for a person to make a story of a fluid dynamic situation. Okay, so in today's lecture, towards the end, I will show you certain movies where I will emphasize and make this point more clear. Now, okay, so as I said that these fluid dynamic movies are silent movies. Then you have to do third thing where you have to make a story of this silent movie. Okay, so we play both these movies, scientifically exciting movie and engineering relevant movie, synchronized in time, and then we try to make up a scientific story as well as engineering relevant story by looking into the movies and then trying to explain what is the cause and what is the effect and trying to correlate between the two. Note that we play these two movies synchronized in time. Okay, so at a particular time, a particular picture represents the scientifically exciting information and engineering relevant information at the same time. So when we make a story, we want to make a story as a scientist, which leads us to the cause. We also want to make it a story as an engineer, which leads us to effect. So as a scientist, as an engineer, we want to do a comprehensive analysis. We want to make a comprehensive story of the fluid dynamics problem in nature or engineering applications. as I mentioned earlier, in the example for flow across a car, where I said that drag force is an effect and which is caused by the flow separation. Okay, so engineering parameters are the effect caused by the flow structure. So this is an introduction to CFD development application analysis. As the lecture proceeds, you will get more appreciation of what I discussed here. So now what I will do is I will draw an analogy where I said that in my definition, I said that this is a CFD software is like a virtual video camera. So let me try to draw an analogy with the video camera. All of you have a video camera. Your mobile is like a video camera. So let me draw certain analogy and then make you understand and appreciate that CFD software is also like a video camera, but it's a virtual video camera. Okay, now whenever you buy a video camera, let me get started from here. Whenever you buy a video camera, there is certain specification which you look for. Like what is the video camera? You look for spatial resolution such as it's 10 megapixel or 20 or 40 or 50. So basically this decides the number of pixels which made a picture in the movies that you generate from your mobiles. Okay, so when you purchase a video camera, you look for spatial resolution, which is normally given in megapixels. In CFD also, we have similar to what you call as pixels for your video camera. Very similarly, in our CFD software, we have our pictures in CFD software to make a movie is made up of the velocities and pressure that we determine at certain pixelized representation of points which we call as grid points. Okay, so what we call pixel in a, let us say, video camera, here in CFD software we call as grid points. So like in your video camera, corresponding to the pixel, certain color is decided when you click a picture, and corresponding to each pixel there is a color and color associated with all the pixels makes the picture that you see. Similarly, the picture picture by picture creates a movie. So the picture in a CFD software basically is based on the flow properties or the engineering information at various grid points, where what we do is that, like if I have to do a simulation for flow across a car, I will take the region outside the surface of the car, which is air, and then I convert the infinite number of the points in air outside the car into certain fixed number of points, which are like pixelized representation, which I call as grid point. So the grid point and pixels are analogous. Secondly, when you purchase a video camera, other than this megapixel, there is another information that is important, which is called as frame rate. Okay, like if there is some phenomena which is occurring very fast, let's suppose there is a bomb blast, but whether your video camera can capture each and every event of, let us say, blast, depends on a specification which is called as frame rate. Like what is frame rate between two pictures? What is the time duration? Okay, so in a video camera that you purchase, there is another specification which is called as frame rate, which is the time interval between the two consecutive pictures in the video that is generated from your video camera. Now, in our CFD software also, the movies that we generate, there is always a time interval between two consecutive pictures, and that time interval is called as time step. So time step is related with the frame rate of a video camera. So there is you can appreciate now that there is a correlation between pixels and grid points, the frame rate and the time interval. So CFD software also generates a movie which is similar to what you generate from your mobiles. Now to create a movie, what you do is that in your video camera there is another specification which is the focusing specification, like 4x, 10x. So using those focusing specification, you focus to certain region in space. Whenever we do a CFD simulation, note that because to make a movie, you focus to certain regions. So you have a region in which you create pictures or movies. In CFD also, we have a certain region only where we obtain the data for velocities and pressure distribution, and that region we call as computational domain. Okay, now the size of the region in your video camera, it basically depends on the focusing specification, whether it's 4x or 10x. So depending on the specification of your video camera in your mobile, you can zoom to certain region in space. Okay, so now you zoom to certain minimum region in space. Now when you do CFD simulation, or let's suppose you want to do CFD simulation for flow across a car. Now you want to take, although if you consider flow across a car or flow across an aeroplane, strictly speaking, the size of the computational domain is infinite. But whenever you click a picture, you click a picture for certain region in space. Okay, so that way our computational domain we have to limit to certain size. Like for flow across a car, I cannot take very large computational domain, but I cannot take a very small computational domain. So what decides the size of the computational domain in a CFD? The size of the domain is basically decided by the physically relevant boundary condition. Okay, like on the back side of the surface of the car, there is a flow separation, and if you take the domain very close near to the back side of the car, because physically we apply a boundary condition which is called an outflow boundary condition or a fully developed flow boundary condition. It will not be correct if you take your right wall of the domain very close to the rear surface of the car. So what I'm here trying to explain is that the size of the computational domain in a CFD software depends on the physically relevant boundary condition that you apply. The size of the focus region in your video camera depends on the focusing specification, zooming specification that you have in your video camera. Now, so as I mentioned earlier, that the pixels that you have in your video camera, it is analogous to the grid points in a CFD software. And this basically decides, the pixel basically decides the quality of the picture or movie that you draw from your video camera. And the grid points basically decide the accuracy of the solution that you obtain from your CFD software. Note that in your video camera, if it is 10 megapixel, and if you draw a picture or a movie at various regions in space, everywhere it is 10 megapixel. But in a CFD software, we have the freedom to distribute these pixels or grid points in a CFD software in a non-uniform way. Like if you consider flow over a fan, you know that near to the surface of the fan there is a lot of velocity gradient. So while using a CFD software, you have freedom to decide large number of point distribution near to the surface of the fan, because you can generate a non-uniform grid distribution. As I mentioned earlier, along with the pixels, there is another specification which is called as frame rate, which is important in your video camera. And analogous to it, we have a time step in our CFD software. So the quality of the result that you obtain by a video camera and a CFD software both depends on spatial and temporal resolution. This analogy is not only for CFD but also applicable for computational solid dynamics, such as if you are using FEM simulation. The analogy that I had drawn here with reference to video camera and a CFD software, this analogy is also applicable for a FEM software also, as well as many other software in science and engineering. I would like to take this point further. I have said that CFD, I have drawn an analogy, I have compared with the video camera, where I have compared the pixels and the grid points, I have compared the frame rate and the time interval. Now, all of you have studied a fluid dynamics course in your undergraduate course. The course that you have studied is strictly speaking analytical fluid dynamics, where you have derived certain differential equation as the governing equation in fluid dynamics. Those equations we call as continuity equation and momentum equation. So let us take the simplest of those, like in 1D steady state conduction, you have derived an equation like d square t by dx square is equals to 0 for one-dimensional steady state heat conduction with no heat generation. And so it's a second order ordinary differential equation. So the question is, what is the solution of a differential equation? Now, when you, let us say in this case, when you have a d square t by dx square is equals to 0, basically you integrate it twice, and then you use certain boundary condition. And if let us suppose the boundary condition at x equals to 0 is t is equals to t1, x equals to L, t is equals to t2, then you obtain a solution t minus t1 divided by t2 minus t1 is equals to x by L. So basically, if you see the solution, what the solution which you have obtained is temperature as a function of x, temperature as a function of spatial coordinate. If you take an unsteady state problem, then along with x, you will obtain a solution which will involve time. If you move from a 1D to a 2D problem, then you will obtain temperature as a function of x, y, and time. In a 3D, temperature is a function of x, y, z, and time. So the solution of any differential equation is a function. And the function, the beauty of a function is you can substitute any value of x, y, z. So it is like you can have large number of pixels. And your video camera is like an infinite resolution video camera. To note that the analytical solutions are extremely powerful because they can give you solution at whichever x, y, z and time you want. So that way I have drawn an analogy that numerical solution which you obtain from CFD is a finite resolution virtual video camera, whereas the analytical solution that you obtain is an infinite resolution virtual video camera. So this analogy which I had drawn, but the question is, for most of the problems in fluid dynamics, analytical solution is not possible. So this infinite resolution virtual video camera is not possible. What is possible is this finite resolution virtual video camera, and that is what we do in CFD. In CFD, we have certain fixed number of grid points. So we have a fixed resolution, and these grid points are analogous to the pixels. So CFD is a finite resolution video camera. Okay, so analytical solution, if you can obtain an analytical solution for a general fluid mechanics problem, you will definitely get a Nobel Prize. And all the CFD companies all over the world has to close down. Okay, so in real world, we are not able to obtain function as a solution. What we are able to obtain is the solution for velocities, pressures, temperature at certain discrete points which are similar to pixels of your video camera and at discrete time intervals. Okay, so the discrete solution that you obtain, which is like a pixelized solutions, where you have discrete points in space and you have a discrete time intervals. So we have a finite resolution in space and time. This is what we can generate as a solution in fluid dynamics. And so we are able to get a finite resolution solutions. Sevatkar, everything is fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. No problem.
Okay. So this completes the first part of my lecture. What is Now I am going to the second part of my lecture, how CFD works. But before I go, Sevatkar, can you look into the chat box, and if there is any question, I'll be happy to answer.
No, sir. As of now, there are no questions.
Okay.
Something I will.
Okay.
I may interrupt you sometime and will ask you the question.
Okay, good. I would request the audience, feel free to. I would suggest that please put your questions in the chat box rather than speaking, because that we believe it's not a good mode of interacting with you. And the coordinator will basically read the question and discuss. So if you have any question, please write down in the chat box and I'll get it from the coordinator. Shall I go ahead, Sevatkar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's perfectly all right.
Okay, thank you. So I am into the second part of the lecture, how CFD works. Now, as I said, that there are three verticals of CFD. So I'll talk about how CFD development works, how CFD application works, how CFD analysis works. Sevatkar, right now it is around 11 o'clock. This lecture is the first lecture is up to from 10 to 11:30. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So I'll take around half an hour. Then we'll have a break for around half an hour. And but before the break, I would like to take the question answer. So 11:30, I'll stop and I will have a question answer if it's there in the chat box, and then we'll begin at 12 o'clock for the second lecture.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so now in the second part of my lecture, I'll answer how CFD development works, and then go to how CFD application, and finally how CFD analysis works. So I have not limited my the title of my book as this is like a first course in CFD. So the title is Introduction to CFD. It's a very big subject. So, but I have not stopped the title at CFD, but there is a second subtitle along with this title, which says Development Application Analysis. So I give a lot of emphasis to these three things for a more comprehensive introduction to this subject. So CFD involves three things, as I keep emphasizing: development of a CFD software, application of the software to obtain the results, and finally the big data that you generate. You have to do a data analytic job. So you have to do an analysis of the results for understanding a fluid dynamics problem. Okay, so with this background, I'll start this intro to how CFD development works. There are basically 5 different components or elements of CFD development, which are shown here. This I will discuss separately in the coming slides. So the first, so there are 5 different steps of CFD development. Right now we are into how CFD development works. So I am answering this as there are 5 different steps through which CFD development works. The first step is like pixel generation or grid generation, where what we do, like if you have to simulate flow across a car, basically you take a region which is outside the surface of the car, which is the air, and you draw a box, and the car is somewhere in the middle, and your interest is to determine the velocity pressure distribution of air which is outside the surface of the car. Okay, so there are infinite number of points, and we convert into certain fixed number of points. So it's like a pixelized representation, and that is what is called as grid generation. Now I will show you the simplest form of the grid generation. Let me start, which is as shown here. Let us suppose you are interested in flow across. Let's suppose you are interested in heat transfer from a plate. Let's suppose this is a square plate, or this could be a problem involving certain flow region. So let us suppose there is a fluid flow which is occurring in a box. So this is like a computational domain in which you are interested to know the picture for velocities, pressures, and temperature. This is a square dome or square or a rectangular domain of length L1 in the x direction, L2 in the y direction. The simplest form of pixel generation or grid generation is there are an infinite number of points in this within this region. So the grid generation is, or pixel generation for CFD is basically we have to divide the infinite number of points to certain fixed point, and the simplest form of the grid generation is you draw equispaced vertical lines, equispaced horizontal lines, and you locate points which are at the centroid of the control point. So this way you can see I have generated, it's like 25 pixels or 25 grid points. The procedure is I have divided the region into same size of 25 regions. I have divided this domain into 25 control volume of equal size. So the domain is divided into 25 equal size subdomains by drawing equispaced horizontal and vertical lines. Now, these are the pixels which are inside the domain. But let's suppose if it's a heat conduction problem corresponding to heat transfer from a plate, then you can have the same plate, but you can have 1,000 different problems. Basically, the solution depends on the boundary conditions. So when we use CFD, we ensure that we obey the energy conservation law for all these 25 control volumes. But along with it, we also along with obeying of the conservation laws, energy conservation law for heat conduction, you also need to ensure the boundary condition. So all of you know, like to solve heat transfer problem, when you solve d square T by dx square equals to 0, you get different solution when x equals to T1. What are the boundary conditions? You can have a boundary condition constant wall temperature, you can have constant heat flux, you can have a convective boundary condition. So from d square T by dx square is equals to 0, the solution that you obtain T as a function of x, that solution, that function depends on what is the boundary condition. So in CFD, other than these pixels which are inside the domain, you also need pixels at the boundary where you apply the boundary conditions. So this is like pixels at the boundary, left boundary, bottom boundary, right boundary, and top boundary. So I'm showing you two types of pixels or grid points. Yellow pixels or grid points which are inside, and the blue ones which are at the boundary. Note that we ensure the energy conservation law, if it's a conduction problem, for this 25 yellow pixels or 25 control volumes. But along with the conservation law, we also need to ensure the implementation of boundary conditions. So note that we have two types of pixels, internal and boundary. Now, when you solve in any computational course, note that you generate big data, and the data is stored in a data structure, which is you need to store a data. Okay, like if you have a formula z is equals to x into y, you have a single value of x, single value of y, you can obtain z. But let us suppose you are given 10 different values of x, 10 different value of y. Then what do? Simplest answer is maybe you will create an Excel sheet where in the first column you will store x, in the second column you will store y. So basically, the first column and second column of your Excel sheet is a one-dimensional matrix. Okay, so basically you are storing the data in a matrix as a data structure. Similarly, here, once we have generated these pixels, note that although I have presented this grid generation more as a geometrical, I have discussed it more as a geometric problem. But note that as far as the implementation in CFD is concerned, finally we have to obtain the x and y coordinates of these circles. I have 25 yellow circles and 20 blue circles. Ultimately, finally, from the grid generation, you have to obtain x and y coordinate of this circles, location of these circles. So if you are given the length of the plate, the height of the plate, you can take, let us say, this corner as the origin, and you can obtain x and y coordinate of all these points. Okay. So once you have obtained this x and y coordinates, you have to store it. So like in this case, there are 7 circles in the x direction and 7 circles in the y direction. So you generate, you store this in a matrix as a data structure, which is a 7 by 7 matrix, where an element of a matrix, what is the address of an element? There is a row number and there is a column number. So in CFD, we have what we have in a matrix, the address is decided by what we call as running indices, which is an integer value. Like when you talk of row number, column number, it has some integer values. So this i's and j's basically decides the running indices. At this point, I will emphasize later on, like in your undergraduate course of heat transfer, you derive one formula. So note that we have to use formula for this, let us say 25 plus 20, 45 circles. We need to solve certain equations, but we will not derive 45 equations. We will derive only one equation, but that equation we will write in initial form. So, and we use a loop. So this running indices, we use it as a loop. So we derive one equation and we use it 45 times. But the equation that we write is something like this. Like if we have a formula z is equals to x into y, in a computational course, we write it as z is equals to xi into yi. So then we use I is varying from, let us say, there are 10 values, then I is equals to 1 into 10, 1 to 10. So we use that formula recursively. Okay, so if you are given one value of x, one value of y, use calculator. But if you are given 10 value of x, 10 value of y, you have a single formula, z is equal to x into y, but you write it in an initial form, Zi is equals to xi into yi. So these running indices are very convenient in looping the single equation. So this is the running indices in the x direction, this is the running indices in the y direction. With this running indices, just to give you an idea, if we have a formula for yellow circle, and as I mentioned, we derive only one formula. So that formula, if I have to use for yellow circle, then what is the minimum I value? All this blue circle at I is equals to 1. All these circles are I equal to 2. From the leftmost yellow circle, I is 2. I is 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. So the rightmost is 6. So if I give you a formula for solving for yellow circles, you write that formula, and the loop is I is varying from 2 to 6. Similarly, you will find J is varying from 2 to 6. Okay, so if you use the loop for that single equation, you can calculate, basically in a computer, it calculates for all these yellow circles. If let us suppose I have to apply a boundary condition on this blue circle, then I is 1, but J will be varying from 2 to 6. This way you can implement the boundary condition for the grid points or pixels at the left quadrant. Later on, when we will derive the linear algebraic equations, I'll come back to this point. This is a computational stencil. So these are your pixels or control volumes or grid point at the boundary, and these are your pixels which are inside internal control volumes or grid points. Now, when you solve a CFD problem, we classify the problem into two types: simple geometry problem and complex geometry problem. Now, just to take you along, like when you study heat transfer course, you know that first you study for Cartesian geometry, then you study for cylindrical geometry, and then you study for spherical geometry. Now, if you look in, and you know that the problems that you solve, there are certain problems which fall under the category of Cartesian, there are certain problems which fall under the category of cylindrical, and certain other problems which fall under spherical. But when you go to an industry, whether you find that any problem in industry, it will fall under these three categories only: Cartesian, cylindrical, and spherical. The answer is no. Okay, Cartesian. How do we decide that the problem is in Cartesian coordinate? Basically, we decide by looking into the boundary of the domain. Okay, like if you consider a square plate, the square plate, what is the boundary? Left boundary and right boundary, it's a vertical line and in a 2D, and the top and bottom are horizontal lines, or so you have so either the boundary of the region in which you are interested to obtain the solution. If the boundary has only horizontal and vertical line, then those problems are in Cartesian. So when we say horizontal and vertical, what it means? It is x equals to constant line or y is equals to constant line. When we go to cylindrical, it either should have radius is equals to constant line, theta is, or azimuthal angle theta is equals to constant, or z is equals to constant lines. Okay, but if you have problems which you can classify as Cartesian, cylindrical, or spherical, these are called as simple geometry problems. But there are problems where boundaries are neither in Cartesian or cylindrical or spherical, that we call as complex geometry problem. So the book that I had presented, which I'll introduce you towards the end of this lecture, I have presented in that book the CFD for both simple geometry and complex geometry. For simple geometry, I have presented in complete detail Cartesian geometry, from which you can extend to cylindrical and spherical. But towards the end of my book, I have also presented CFD for a complex geometry on a curvilinear grid. Just to give you an idea, let's suppose if you have a square plate with a square hole. Now note that there are two boundaries. One is an outer boundary, which is this, and the second is the inner boundary, which is hole. And now you can see what is this boundary, left boundary and right boundary? Here x coordinate is constant. X equals to 0 here, x equals to L1 on the right boundary. On the bottom boundary, y is equals to 0, and at the top boundary, y is equals to L2. Similarly, on this vertical hole also, you have certain x and y which are, so all your boundaries are either horizontal and vertical. So this is a Cartesian geometry problem. Now, in this case, the grid generation, you can draw equispaced horizontal and vertical lines. Note that in this case, I am generating the grid point only on the solid, not on the air which is in the hole. Okay, and I have to solve not in the hole, only in the solid. I have to use certain boundary condition for that whole region. I need boundary condition not only at the outer boundary, but I need to implement the boundary conditions for that inner hole region. Okay, so you can see here that the boundary in this case is that hole also. So there is an inner boundary for this plate, and I have blue circles which are the boundary grid point. Square plate with a square hole is a Cartesian geometry problem. If you consider circular plate with a circular hole, it's a cylindrical geometry problem. But if you have a square plate with a circular hole or a circular plate with a square hole, it's a complex geometry problem. So just to give you an idea, let us suppose there is a square plate and this is a square hole, circular hole. Then if you generate a grid, the grid looks like this, where the grid is not only made up of horizontal and vertical lines, but there are some inclined lines also. So in this case, you have to use this other formulation, complex geometry formulations. This is just to introduce to you that in CFD, we have two types of problems. Simple geometry problems are those problems which can be classified as Cartesian, cylindrical, and spherical. And you can develop a code which is relatively simpler for this specific geometries. Whereas for complex geometry, the formulation is little more involved. However, the underlying principles for the Cartesian and complex geometry problems, as far as the algebraic formulations, finite volume method is concerned, the basic is same, but it's just that the maths becomes little involved for complex geometry problems. So in this problem, the grid generation, these are like internal grid points, which are shown here by yellow circles. But other than this, we have the boundary grid points shown here by blue circles. So the yellow pixels are the points inside where we ensure the energy conservation law for the solid, and the boundary points we apply the boundary conditions. So this is the first part, which is called as grid generation. Now let us move to the second part, which is once you have generated these pixels, the next step is you have to do what we call as mathematical formulations. In a mathematical formulation in your fluid dynamics, what is the mathematical formulation in fluid dynamics? Differential equations. Like in conduction, you derive differential equation for temperature distribution. Okay. So in your undergraduate fluid dynamics heat transfer, mathematical formulation involves deriving differential equations. Although in fluid mechanics, you also study other than this differential equation. Through Reynolds transport theorem, you also derive integral equations. But those integral equation gives you very limited information about the engineering parameters. It does not give you point by point velocity pressure distribution that you can get only from the differential formulations. So note that the Govan equation in undergraduate fluid mechanics heat transfer that you study are differential equations. However, in CFD, when we do mathematical formulation, note that the Govan equation is not differential equation. Here the governing equation is linear algebraic equations, because we have certain points in which we want to know temperature, let us say in case of conduction. If there are, let us say, 2 points, then I need two equations for T1 and T2. If I have 2 points, if I generate two linear algebraic equations, let us suppose 3T1 plus 4T2 is equal to 5. I have another equation, 5T1 plus 6T2 is equal to 6. So there are two equations, a linear algebraic equation, two unknowns. This you can solve by hand, you don't need calculator, computer, and you can obtain the solution. If you have 2 points, so basically what I'm trying to say is that the number of pixels you have, that many number of linear algebraic equations we have to derive in the second step of CFD, which is called as algebraic formulations. All the other books in CFD call it as a discretization method. I prefer to call it as an algebraic formulation. So the Govan equation in CFD is linear algebraic equation. So from the first step, which is like a pixel generation, the second step is number of pixels, that many linear algebraic equations we have to derive. But note that, as I mentioned, we derive equations for a certain representative grid points. We do not derive for all the grid points. And then we use a loop. Okay, so the second step, I prefer to call it algebraic formulation. all the other CFD books call it as a discretization method. But basically, what happens in second step is you use certain technique to derive linear algebraic equation, which are the governing equation in CFD. There are three methods which are commonly used for deriving this linear algebraic equation: finite difference, finite volume, and finite element. Now, if you compare these three methods, finite difference method is the oldest method in CFD. The CFD started somewhere in the early 70s, which is around 50 years ago. This subject is relatively young. So around 50 years, if you see fluid dynamics, it's pretty old subject, but CFD is relatively younger. It started only after the development of computer, and before that, people were in fluid dynamics were working with differential equations. Now, when computer came, people thought, okay, we can solve through computer using linear algebraic equation. So they, to begin with, they used methods like finite difference method, where they took the differential equation and term by term, each differential term is converted into linear algebraic term, where they call it the finite difference equations. So they converted the differential equation into linear algebraic equation, and that's what they call as discretization methods. But when finite difference method, when this was applied for complex geometry problems, people realized that it has certain disadvantage. They were struggling to get a stable solutions. So this led to a new method, which is called as finite volume method. So this finite volume method came up somewhere in early 80s, and then using finite volume method, we ensure, like in fluid mechanics, when you derive, like in heat conduction, you derive the heat conduction equation. You basically take a control volume and you take Qx plus Dx, Qy plus dy. So similarly, finite volume methods start with a control volume, and it ensures that the conservation laws are obeyed for the different control volumes. Like in previous slide, while grid generation I had shown you 25 control volumes. So when you use this finite volume method for those 25 yellow circles, we have 25 control volumes, where the yellow circles are lying at the centroid of the control volume. When we apply finite volume method, we ensure that the energy conservation law is obeyed in all those control volumes. So this finite volume method ensures the conservation laws much better as compared to finite difference method. They are conservative in nature, and this finite volume method, it so turned out that for complex geometry problem, it has a lot of advantages compared to finite difference method. So all the present day CFD softwares are based on finite volume method. This finite element method is more common in solid mechanics as compared to fluid mechanics. However, there are certain software like COMSOL which uses finite element method even for CFD. So, but all this method basically obtain certain linear algebraic equations corresponding to the grid points and pixels that we generate. And for each pixel or each grid point, we get one linear algebraic equation, and with unknowns as flow properties. Now, as far as this finite volume method is concerned, in my book I had come up with a physical law-based finite volume method, which I'll introduce and maybe continue in the next lecture. So I'll start with algebraic formulation by finite volume. So I'll start with what you have already learned, and that in your undergraduate fluid dynamics heat transfer course, and then take you along to what is the new thing that you learn in CFD. So in your undergraduate course, let us say in your heat transfer course, you apply energy conservation law. You take a control volume, which is you call as infinitesimal control volume, where finally you apply delta x, delta y, delta t tends to 0. You get a differential term. So in your undergraduate course, like in conduction, you write Qx plus dx, Qy plus dy. When you write this, initially you write capital Q, which is rate of heat transfer. Then what you do, you write this capital Q in terms of small q, where small q we call as rate of heat transfer per unit area, that you call as conduction flux. So that capital Qx, you write it in terms of small qx and then multiply by the surface area. Okay, so in your undergraduate course, you take a control volume. Based on the conservation law, you use certain symbols, like you use symbol capital Q, small q in your heat transfer course. But note that finally to get a derivative term, because from your schools you have learned that if you want to have a derivative df by dx, you need to have delta x in the denominator, because df by dx is fx plus delta x minus fx divided by delta x, and you also need to use limit delta x tends to 0. So note that in your undergraduate course, when you derive differential equations, finally you have to use delta x delta y tending to 0, or you can also say you are taking the volume of the control volume is equal to 0. Like if you take a 2D control volume, the width in the horizontal direction is delta x, in the vertical direction is delta y. So when you volume of that control volume is delta x into delta y. So finally, to get a derivative term, because basically when you write like this, just to give you an idea. When you do apply the total heat entering into the control volume, you write q small x minus q small q x plus delta x multiplied by delta y. Because the small q, the surface area, the control volume is a vertical line, and the area is delta y. So the heat flux multiplied by surface area, unless when you divide by volume, surface area divided by volume gives you the length scale in the denominator, and then only you get del by del x of qx and del by del y of qy. Okay. So in your undergraduate course, note that each term of your differential equation represents conservation law per unit volume. So in your undergraduate course, while applying the conservation law to a control volume, you divide by the volume. Note this. Whereas if you see all the books in CFD, what do? They take this differential equation and they take the differential equation which you have derived in your undergraduate course, continuity equation, momentum equation, and energy equation. So they take this differential equation. So all the CFD books, they start with differential equation. And if you start teaching CFD to students, and if the book starts with differential equations, and that too in most of the colleges in our country, when they teach fluid dynamics, they teach more of an integral equations in fluid mechanics than differential equations. So then the student feels that they cannot, this is an advanced subject, this involves a lot of math, and then we keep this course in the final year of the curriculum as an elective, maybe in the 7th or 8th semester, where students' focus has shifted from developing skills or learning or trying to develop a product and make CFD software in India. Instead of that, they are searching for jobs. Then you are not tapping the energy of the students at the right moment. So we need to make this subject easy enough to teach so that this is not too mathematical, and it can be taught as early as 4th semester, 5th semester, along with in parallel with fluid dynamics and heat transfer. This has motivated me to make this subject easy enough, and I have opened up a website whose name is written here, cfdmadeeasy.org, where I have come up with an alternate algebraic formulation, where my book does not start with differential equation. It starts with the same control volume that you see in your undergraduate courses. So if a student is comfortable with this control volumes in 4th semester or 5th semester, the formulation that I had come up, the finite volume method that I had presented in my book, he will see the same control volume, so he should be comfortable. I've also tried to reduce the level of math, because what happens, all the other CFD books, they start with this differential equations, and then they use some mathematical bombardment, like they use volume integral and Gauss divergence theorem, where students find it difficult to appreciate the math behind the Gauss divergence theorem. I'd also like to point out that in your undergraduate course, you to get a differential equation, you divide the energy conservation law by volume. Now, in your undergraduate course, you are dividing by volume. All the CFD books, when they do volume integral, it's like multiplying by the volume. So what is this need of dividing in your undergraduate course and in CFD multiplying by volume? Why can't we directly start with this conservation laws, which are like mother? It's just that from this conservation law, this differential equation is like an elder brother. The algebraic equation is like a younger brother. And I can draw an analogy that all the CFD books starts with the elder brother that are these differential equations, and they derive the linear algebraic equation. So in my book, and the bigger motivation is to make this subject easy enough to be taught as early as possible in 4th or 5th semester. And for that, I had been visiting many colleges. I had not limited my teaching to IIT Bombay. since I had joined IIT Bombay, I had been visiting various colleges, especially for a lot of colleges in Maharashtra, especially in the Pune region and Kolhapur region, where I had realized that I had to make this subject less of math, more of physics. And I also realized that if we have to enable make CFD software in India for the world, then we need to teach them. Then only we are giving them the student the opportunity to develop computational skill, and which can enable them to develop this app. Note that this is also an app. This is also an application software. What app we are making in our country presently? We are making for food booking, taxi booking, but we are not making this app, this application software. If you make this app, note that this involves physics, chemistry, maths of your school education. This involves core subject of your engineering, fluid mechanics, heat transfer, solid mechanics, thermodynamics. Okay, so this app development is much more enriching, and moreover, this can lead our country to reach closer to the developed country. There are very few CFD softwares. Although when I say this, it's a very massive task. So right now we are close to 11:30. So let me stop here, and I will introduce the physical law-based finite volume method, where I have tried to make this formulation much easier after the break. Okay, Sevatkar, so we are almost 11:30.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll stop here, and if there is any question in the chat box, you can use your phone for me.
Yeah, maybe there are 2-3 questions which we can take up. In fact, the questions are asked before you talked about FVM and FEM and difference between FDM. The questions are related, 2-3 questions are related to that only.
Okay.
The first question which is asked here is by Mr. Naveen B. So what is the difference between FDM and FVM?
Okay.
I think the moment this question was asked, after that you talked about it. So maybe you can throw some light.
Okay. Let me stop presenting and then discuss this.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is on difference between the finite difference and finite volume method. Is this right? This is the question. So am I right?
Yeah, yes. Finite difference and finite volume method. What is the difference?
Okay. So it's just that these are two different techniques to derive the algebraic equation. If you go to the background, each technique has a different way of doing things. So finite difference uses Taylor series approximation as the framework to convert, because when you take a differential equation like in heat conduction, you have differential equation as rho Cp del capital T by del small t, and you also have term like d square T by dx square and d square T by dy square. So what finite difference method does is it takes each of this term d square T by dx square, d square T by dy square. It takes each of this differential with respect to x separately, y separately, and time separately. And from Taylor series expansion, it converts this into certain discrete points or algebraic equations. Whereas finite volume method, although all the books in CFD, they also do a mathematical procedure. Finite difference is quite mathematical. It cannot be derived from a control volume. So in a finite volume, they take a control volume and then they do certain discretization. Where the procedure of discretization, I say it's more of a math. It involves a lot of math. They will apply Gauss divergence theorem, and then they use certain approximations. So I would say broadly, it's the technique that's different. But for certain problems, you can get exactly same linear algebraic equations whether you use finite difference or finite volume. However, if there are complex geometry problems, if you use a finite volume method, you can get a much better or more accurate discretization. So finite volume has advantage over finite difference, especially when you go for complex geometry problem. Next question.
Yeah, the next question is by Hemant Fegde. The question is, which method is useful for simple and the same for common? For which method we should use for a simple method and complex method? If the method is complex, is it that the finite volume or finite difference method is again useful?
I think the question is more on simple and complex geometry. For complex geometry, finite volume is recommended. Now, I think there is another question on whether the accuracy of finite difference, finite volume, which is more. I had mentioned that it is possible that you can obtain same linear algebraic equation with finite differences, finite volume, then you will get same accuracy. Okay, so it depends on how you are discretizing. What is the order of accuracy of the discretization?
Correct.
And this answer, as far as whether these methods are important for some specific problem, the answer is not based on any problem, like if you have a slurry problem or if you have a flow across a car. Like for flow across a car, finite difference is good. For other problem, flow for aeroplane, finite. No, the answer is not like this. The answer depends on the geometry that you are dealing. Okay, so like if you're solving flow across a slurry in a Cartesian geometry problem, then finite difference, finite volume, we can disguise, which can give you same result. Okay, but if the slurry geometry involves a complex geometry, and then the finite volume has a better formulation and can lead to better accuracy. So the answer is related to the geometry rather than the problem. Any other question?
Sir, one more question I think we should take up. The question is by Dr. Pramod Bagade. He says if the conservation form of equation is the way of formulation, why should FDM fail in discretization?
Okay, the failure of FDM comes later on because when for complex geometry problem, the governing equation you have to do transformation, because for to map to the complex geometry in finite difference method, the Navier-Stokes equation, when you do a mapping, when you transform it for a complex geometry, then there are certain additional differential terms which appear in your governing equations. So the failure of the finite volume method, the reason is different. That there are some additional differential terms which appear in the Navier-Stokes equation due to complex geometry, and those additional differential terms, when you discretize, there are cross derivatives, and there are additional discretization error which appears in the finite difference discretization, and those discretization error, how do they grow with respect to time? They lead to the problem of numerical instability. So the problem is of numerical instability that lead to the struggle in getting a converged solution using finite difference method for complex geometry, and this motivated for finite volume.
I think many of the questions are answered. So maybe we will take a break for half an hour, and we'll come back again at 12 o'clock. Thankful to Professor Sharma for an informative session. The participants have given a very good feedback in the chat box itself. I'm thankful for your session and your efforts. We will meet again at 12 o'clock.
Thank you. Thank you for it. See you at 12.
Yes, sir. Thank you, participants. By the way, is there any query by the participant? Anything else they want to ask? Any of the participants? If you have any kind of query, please go ahead. No. So thank you very much. Sir, shall we leave the meeting for half an hour? Sharma,
I'm just reading the chat box. Just
Okay.
wait for a couple of minutes and we can.
Okay.
I just want to say. I'll tell you just a couple of minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the two things they are writing. One is the recording, and second is feedback.
Okay.
So I hope you are taking care of this. So
Yes, sir. feedback we are going to take separately also
Okay.
for each of the sessions. For each of the speaker, we will be taking separate feedback.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine, and you're recording.
We are recording also.
Yeah.
And
Good.
the recording will be
So you can
provided.
share the recording.
Yes, sir. Recording will be shared to the participants and everybody, I mean, to you also.
Fine. Yeah. Good. Yeah, so I think I've seen all these comments. Mostly they are general overall. And questions we have almost covered everything. Yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
sir. We have almost all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we can leave now.
Yeah. So we will meet at 12 o'clock sharp.